G'day folks, it's been a week, maybe two, since I put one up last. Well, a little bit to talk about, but my first little thing I want to say is remember when I said in the last video, guys, that I thought my alternator was playing up and it was making that sort of a tapping sound it felt like every revolution of the engine. Just on idling, as soon as I lifted the revs up, it'd go away. Well, look, I got thinking about it, guys, and it seemed like it was up around here. And, oh, geez, I thought there was something going on with the engine. Really thought the timing chain or something was touching it, or the camshaft was moving in and out. I thought it was inside the motor. And I went and looked, just for the hell of it, you wouldn't believe it though, I went and sprayed some of this. This is actually a trick you can do, guys, to put on your belt, your drive belts, just to sort of extend the life and stop that sort of cracking as they dry out and age. Well, while the engine was running, I sort of started pumping it on there and just did it for sort of 5-10 seconds and did the power steering one as well, and the sound went away just like that. And that's what it was. Wasn't the alternator after all, it was the bloody belts. They were just dry and just making this really just weird sort of sound just on idle, and it sounded like it was something in the engine. So how crazy is that? Just a dry belt with a bit of the protectant on it, nourished it up, and it's taken the sound away. Oh my God, that was starting to do my head in, guys. I was starting to think I might have to pull the engine, and it just threw me. It really did. I've never seen or heard anything like that. I've heard belts where they get dry and they make that sort of different sound, but this was really weird. It was almost like a ticking sound. And I thought, I swore it was coming from the inside of the engine. Anyway, that was a win. So the alternator's fine, which is fantastic. Well, guys, I've had it running, obviously. Got all the ignition sort of all fired up, and I've got my plug gaps at 25 thousandths. So I can't wait to test it. I'm that super excited. It's just driving me nuts. It really is. I feel this is it. I really do. I've got the carb, guys, on the rich side, so we can pull fuel out of it. It seems to be fairly rich mid-range, and then it sort of cleans up a little bit up top, but it's still on the richish side up top in the revs. So we can fine tune that as long as we can get that little miss out of it, 5,000 up in the revs. And like I said, by putting on this decent coil, really good leads now. We've got really low ohm readings on the leads, so we're going to get a great delivery of spark, fingers crossed. Well, I had some other little niggly go on with this engine, guys, and you'll never guess this either. It was about the last month, the revs were increasing on it, and I couldn't for the life figure out what was going on. Because I was playing around with the carb, I thought it may have been a carb issue. I ended up backing sort of this right off to basically nothing. I couldn't go back any further. But it was only when the engine sort of came in from the track and it was really warm that the revs would sort of sneak up a little bit on it, sort of idle around 1,000, 1,100. And but when it was sort of cooler, like before racing and just warming it up, it was fine. Well, you wouldn't believe this. It turns out that the distributor advanced, I must have knocked it, 4 degrees. Because when I double checked it with the timing light, because I've been fiddling around with the timing map on it, and I'll show you in a sec. But it turns out I was 4 degrees above what I had on my laptop. So I was running 24 degrees idle. No wonder it was idling up a little bit. As soon as I turned the Dizzy back, she settled right down and actually nearly died. And I ended up having to adjust it back up to where I normally had it before. So, oh my goodness me, that's just crazy, guys. I don't know what happened, we'll be honest with you, the nut that holds the clamp down wasn't over tight, but I thought it was tight enough. So whether I've bumped it or whatever, when I was fluffing around with it there and whatever I was doing there a month or so ago, I moved the distributor, but I've nipped it up now, so I'll give it a couple of good turns and I've got it snug right down. So I've got my timing is set again. Oh geez, you've got to be careful, guys. You'd imagine though, if I'd have been running on the limit with my timing, thinking I had 20 degrees and not double checking it with this, turns out you're 4 degrees over and you never know, do you? Could have been the end of a head gasket or anything. All right, I'll show you this. I've changed my timing map, folks. I've actually got thinking about it a bit more, and I haven't done it since I've been on V85. There it is there. Now, I run, for those who don't know, I run 30 degrees locked out on the distributor. Now, what it is here, see this unit that I've got is an MSD 6AL2. All I'm doing is running like a retard, or just my own map curve. It's a retard curve. So I've got it locked at 30 degrees on the distributor, and this unit will pull timing out of it, and it actually pulls up to 24 degrees. So I've got 10 degrees pulled out of it at the moment, so that gives me back to 20 degrees on idle. So that's the revs. And this is all sort of around the idle markers, around 1,000 whisker under. So if the engine's really hot when you come in from a hard run on the track, I've got it down to around 18 degrees on E85 to start quite easily, and then as soon as it sort of starts up, it'll fire back up to 20 degrees on idle. Now, before, when I stabbed on the throttle, before I mucked around with this, my old setting was, I had this curve coming straight up to 3,000. And I thought, I'm actually missing out on a little bit of a potential throttle response. So what I've gone and done is I've sort of ramped it from idle, basically up to 2,000 revs. So it's locked out at 30 degrees. So 2 to 3,000, we've got a solid 30 degrees. And I know that I'm making boost around 3.2, 3.3 full boost, pretty much. So I pull timing out down to 20 degrees and I flatline right out at 20 degrees by 3,000 revs. So hopefully now throttle response and torque with E85 is really taken advantage of through Spark and the great properties of E85. A little bit more aggressive, and it should have that little bit more torque and a little bit more peppiness out of boost. And once obviously you get swinging with the engine, you can pull timing out of it and the boost takes you away. I am going to play with down the track once I get this sort of sorted in the next, hopefully very soon. I want to actually increase a little bit of timing up top, sort of 5,000 onwards, or even 4.5. I'll probably 5,000 onwards once the torque of the turbo sort of settles down a little bit. You can put a degree or two into it as we go. But this is fairly conservative. Remember, I'm only on 7 pounds of boost. I had to actually run 12 pounds of boost, 20 degrees, this same similar sort of boost curve when I had pumped 98 octane. So this to me is very, very conservative. I mean, you could easily get away with, well, I think, even up to £15, and perhaps even a little bit more timing on that, because E85 is just so much better over Pump 98, and especially now that I'm running with an intercooler too. So it's bloody brilliant, it really is. So we'll see how that goes. It seems to idle and really be really snappy on the throttle. The next video I do, guys, will be on that full rundown of this car, because it's changed so much, and I will, at the end of it, I'll do a little I'll do a startup, and and we'll do a little rev on that, and you'll get to hear it, because it's really snappy. It's incredible. I just can't believe it. It really is. All right, well, I've bought a couple of things, guys, and I'll show you those before I close out. I've finally got my diff gears. These are a 3:5 ratio, so I've gone back, or up, whatever you want to call it. So it's taller gearing. I had 3.7, which I've currently got in my car now. So we've gone to 3.5. So hopefully we can improve on top speed a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit of math on that and see what it actually is going to yield me down at at the top end versus revs. So I'm interested on that one too. I'll probably do that over Christmas, New Year. All right, I bought myself a new starter, guys. Starter motor. Now this one is a gear reduction. It's a ProFlow, so it is a Chinese brand. But geez, I tell you what, God, it's made the difference. I think this is about 1.7 horsepower. The motor will turn 4 times over what the output shaft is. So, oh golly, I'll show you that and bring that up when I go to start it. I won't do it now. I'll just sort of can't be bothered. But next time I do a vid, you'll get to hear it, and it's just so nice. It really is. The other one was struggling, guys. It was just seemed to have that. Oh, it was getting it done, but when I came in, when it was really hot, the engine, it'd almost start to struggle to kick it over. Whereas this thing's just incredible. So that was $180. So I didn't think it was too bad in price. All right, folks. And lighter, by the way, than the other one. So that's a real bonus too. Only 200 grams. There we go, folks. We're getting very close. So I'm hanging out for a private test day as soon as I can now. I've got it all nutted out, all sorted. So very, very excited, to say the least. I think personally this is going to happen. My gut is telling me that it's all going to come together now, and I've got the right ingredients. It's just unreal as you change things and put, well, for example, that E85, look how much it changed it all from the pump fuel. I mean, I had spark issues. The carb was running massively lean. The timing, I know timing is where it's at with this E85. It changes everything, and it is a good thing. I'm completely convinced with it now. And by the way, I've been starting the engine without the heater, so we are warming up. We're into spring now. It's just bloody brilliant. Before I go, guys, there's a hill climb coming up at the end of the month. And I was actually half thinking of going in it, but the only reason I don't want to, well, I'm a bit worried about taking it, is my splitter. And I have been told that it could be a little issue down there for the hill climb. But we'll see. I'd actually half thinking about making it up so I can take this off, because I don't really want to wipe it out. The tracks are fine, but if you get on open roads, and even though they're, you just never know. You know, a bit of a hump in the road or a bump, or you know, a cut into a curb or anything. I'll just take that thing clean off it, and I don't really want to do that. So I'll look in to see if I can make this a quick sort of release, and that's the only thing that's sort of holding me up at that stage for any road course sort of hill climb sort of thing. I'd like to get into it, I really would. Just slowly, just ease my way into it, but we'll see. All right, folks, well, that's enough of my yabber. The next one will be the full-on rundown of this turbo beast, because there's so much to talk about. It's incredible. Catch you later.